The little girl stood beside the trash can, her hands trembling from the
Hungry,
cold,
little one?
her eyes fixed on a half-eaten sandwich, resting on a paper plate.
can have
What
it.
happened next would change not only her life, but the life of a struggling single father who thought he had already lost everything that mattered. Before we begin, if you believe kindness can change lives, and that everyone deserves a second chance, please take a moment to like this video, comment where you're watching from, share this story with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to the channel for more heart-touching stories. It was a chilly autumn evening in Chicago, Illinois. The city lights reflected off the wet sidewalks as people hurried past restaurants and coffee shops, too busy to notice the quiet struggles unfolding around them. Among them was Michael Carter, a 38-year-old single father who had spent the last 3 years raising his son alone after losing his wife, Rebecca, to cancer. Life had not been kind to Michael. Medical bills had drained his savings. He worked long shifts driving delivery trucks just to keep a roof over their heads. Every morning he woke before sunrise, packed lunches, helped with homework, paid bills, and tried to smile for his 10-year-old son. But behind that smile lived exhaustion, grief, and constant worry. That evening, after finishing a 12-hour shift, Michael took Noah to a small diner near downtown. It was a rare treat. Noah had done well in school, and Michael wanted to celebrate despite the tight budget. They ordered simple meals and sat together by the window. As they prepared to leave, Michael noticed a small figure standing nearby. She couldn't have been older than 9 years old. Her coat was too thin for the weather. Her shoes were worn, and her cheeks were pale from hunger. The girl stared at the plate Noah hadn't finished. Then she quietly asked something that froze Michael in place. She wanted to know if she could eat what they didn't finish. For a moment, time seemed to stop. Michael looked around, expecting to see parents nearby. There was no one, just the little girl standing alone under the harsh glow of the restaurant lights. Her name was Sarah. The manager reluctantly explained that she had been seen wandering around the area for several days. She never caused trouble. She simply searched for leftover food. Something about Sarah's eyes reminded Michael of Noah. Not because they looked alike, but because they carried the same fear children should never have to carry. Michael bought her a warm meal. When the food arrived, Sarah ate carefully, almost as if she feared someone would take it away. She didn't rush. She didn't waste a single bite. As Michael watched her, a painful memory surfaced. He remembered sitting beside Rebecca during her final days in the hospital. She had once told him that the true measure of a person was how they treated someone who could offer nothing in return. Those words echoed through his mind after finishing her meal. Sarah thanked him repeatedly. But before she left, Michael learned something heartbreaking. Sarah had been living in an abandoned storage building after being separated from relatives who had been unable to care for her. Social services had lost track of her during a complicated custody situation. She had survived by collecting discarded food and sleeping wherever she could find shelter. Michael could hardly believe it. That night he couldn't sleep. While Noah rested peacefully, Michael kept thinking about the frightened little girl sitting alone in the cold. The next morning, instead of going straight to work, he began making calls. He contacted local shelters, social workers, and community organizations. Days turned into weeks as he searched for answers. Eventually, Sarah was located through child welfare services and placed in temporary housing. Most people would have stopped there. Michael didn't. He visited regularly. He brought books, school, supplies, and warm clothes. Noah became Sarah's friend. For the first time in years, Sarah started smiling, but life was still complicated. Michael's finances remained fragile. Some months, he barely managed to pay rent. His truck needed repairs. Overtime hours left him exhausted. Friends warned him not to get too involved. Yet every time he considered stepping back, he remembered that night in the diner. He remembered a child asking permission to eat someone else's leftovers, and he knew he couldn't walk away. Months passed. Sarah began thriving in school. Teachers described her as bright, kind, and remarkably resilient. Despite everything she had endured, she remained compassionate toward others. One winter afternoon, a social worker approached Michael with unexpected news. Sarah's long-term placement options were limited. The possibility of foster care was becoming uncertain. The question hanging in the air was one Michael never expected to face. Would he consider becoming her guardian? The thought terrified him. He was already struggling to support Noah. He wasn't wealthy, he wasn't powerful, he wasn't even sure he was strong enough. But when he looked at Sarah laughing with Noah in the snow, he saw something he hadn't felt in years: hope. After months of evaluations, paperwork, and interviews, Michael officially welcomed Sarah into their family. The transition wasn't easy. There were emotional scars to heal, nightmares, trust issues, difficult conversations. But slowly, something beautiful happened. The house that had once felt empty after Rebecca's death became alive again. Laughter returned. Family dinners became louder. Birthdays became celebrations instead of painful reminders. Sarah no longer searched trash cans for food. She helped Noah with school projects, decorated the house for holidays, and filled every room with energy and gratitude. Years later, Sarah graduated near the top of her high school class. During her graduation speech, she shared a story few people knew. She spoke about the night she stood outside a diner, hungry and alone. She described the single father who could have ignored her, the man who could have walked away, the man who instead saw her. Many in the audience wiped away tears. Michael sat quietly beside Noah, overwhelmed with emotion. Everything changed because of one small act of kindness. Not because he was rich, not because he had all the answers, but because he chose compassion when it would have been easier to look away. And perhaps that is the most powerful lesson of all. Before we finish, I have a special request for you. Please comment the word kindness below if you believe one small act of compassion can completely change someone's future. Sarah's story reminds us that sometimes the people we help end up transforming our own lives in return. Michael thought he was rescuing a lonely little girl, but in truth, she helped heal a broken family and brought light back into a home filled with grief. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like the video, leave a comment, share it with friends and family, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps spread stories of hope, kindness, and second chances to people who may need them most. Because sometimes, the smallest question, asked by the smallest voice, can create the biggest miracle of all.